Hey, thanks for asking questions. Gives me ideas to add more videos. And for some strange reason, I think that something good would happen if I reach 200 videos on in this playlist. Anyway, I'm very far from it, but with your help, I get to 200, and then I get a cake. Okay, so the question is about down downward causation, that the higher levels affect the lower levels, uh, a strong emergence, uh, say that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, chaos emerging from order emerging from chaos, like how does that happen? And then there were some notions about experience being a backdrop of at what point do something become something, like the sand becomes the grains of sand become a dune, I don't know, like a desert. Okay, so I I make a video about this because it's not I like writing an essay seems like a in a comment seems like, I don't know, but the main idea here is that all these questions seem to be well, you wouldn't ask them if you understood the theory, like, or you could ask them, and but when if you would ask them, it would mean that either you don't know about the theory, or you don't accept it, but you wouldn't ask them, and the reason is when we're talking about emergence, um, we're talking about something that exists, like something exists before, like the parts and created the whole, right? Or uh, uh, order created chaos. So order existed, chaos exists. The idea that they exist out there, right? That's the idea. Well, maybe it's not, but according to the theory, it definitely isn't. What this theory argues is that everything that you assign any semantic meaning to is a part of experience, is experience. So the thing that causes you to perceive what you think is order uh, isn't itself order. And the thing that makes you perceive something as chaos isn't itself chaos. It's just the substrate that you are reflecting on is just a combination uh, of elements that are orthogonal to each other, that are basically have no relation with each other. They don't exist as a whole. They exist as just as independent parts. The place where they integrate is in experience, as an experiential movement of understanding. So the whole doesn't exist, and the parts don't exist. But if you follow the structure of, if you follow the whole, sometimes you go from the whole into the parts, because your experiential movement analyzes basically the fractal that is being generated by these things on which you perceive the objective substrate of reality, and through the fractal you get to see you get to see patterns, and which you associate, which you understand as the parts. And it could be also the other direction. You start from the parts, and your perception, uh, uh, instead of like just following the experiential movements of understanding the parts, would be caught by a greater movement, experiential movement, that would be the whole, and then the whole would emerge as an idea. But it's all in experience. All this stuff happens in experience. Yes, you will see evidence of it in the brain, but that's because the brain is reflecting what, according to this theory, the brain just reflects the reality in which the reality that experience perceives at this moment. And the reality that experience perceives at this moment is one where the brain would suggest, let's say, the whole the parts, chaos, order. So more importantly, perhaps, like the idea of emergence is that at point in time x, let's say in t0 there was order, and in t1 there is chaos. But the objective substrate that experience reflects on doesn't exist in time, according to the theory. The time is only time there is, according to this theory, is experiential time. So it's only the progression of experience that changes. The objective substrate doesn't. So it can't be that chaos emerged. It can be that there was like somehow outside the scope of experience, chaos existed before, didn't exist before, and then it somehow came to be. That's not how the theory understands reality. What the theory would argue is that chaos, you just realized it now, and the act of realization has nothing to do with changing the objective substrate itself. Like it wasn't, you didn't add a component to the objective substrate, you just added a component to the objective substrate you reflect on. So that's let's say a repository, what the theory calls the fractal scape, a repository of things that you can perceive, and it exists outside of time. And it's in your time that you pick which of them are you going to reflect on. And the collection itself is infinite because it's all the elements are orthogonal. There's no limit to the amount of elements that can be there. But still, nothing emerges there. Not order, not chaos, not whole, not part. And experience here is not just a backdrop of anything. Experience is the main player. Everything in experience is experience. And yes, it is a bit overwhelming to think about all the sensations you feel, all the details as just experience. But it is that. It is all experience. Everything you perceive is experience. I mean, how can it be anything else? So it doesn't come out in the end. And so the question, for example, how many grains of sand will create a desert? Well, it depends on your experiential momentum. Like, if you are inspired to generalize, then it would be enough to see 3 grains of sand to see a desert. If you are incentivized if you are thinking about just trying to break things down to the components, then even the grains of sand would seem to you like a falsehood, and you would try to look at molecules and atoms or subatomic particles. And that's all the experiential movement at which you analyze and seriously, if you don't open up your perspective, like you see like the molecules and say, hey, these 3 molecules are actually a desert, like actually a part of a desert. Let's call them a desert. Then they won't be a desert. The desert is an experiential movement. It's a semantic that you understand. So, in general, yes, there are processes in that a part of your body, they are a derivative of what you already perceive, what you already accept, orders that are necessary by what you already know, and if you discover them, then it will appear as if they emerged, but actually they didn't really emerge. They were there all along. And there's also the possibility that you're adding stuff to your reality. That's part of what experience does. That's what free will gives you, the ability to change and add things to your reality. But they didn't exist prior, and they're not a part of the universe at any time. You just change the universe. So it's completely incoherent with this theory, I guess.